Hi everyone, thanks for everybody who's subscribed to my channel. If you haven't, please press subscribe now, and thanks for everybody who continues to share my videos far and wide. I'm very grateful for all your kind and generous support. Today I want to speak about the peace talks that took place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia today between Russia and the United States, and the reaction throughout the European Union and here in Ireland. Now, Trump's team was headed up by Marco Rubio and Steve Witkoff, and of course Lavrov was heading up the Russian team, also with the head of the Russian Sovereign Wealth Fund. Now, what's very, very interesting over the last number of days has been the push towards more militarism and war by the European Union. This comes on the back of what's happened at the Munich Security Conference last week with the conscious decoupling from Europe by Trump's US. Now, what's very interesting with this is the drive towards more militarism in the European Union. And JD Vance also said that Europe should be more self-sufficient and self-reliant in terms of weapons and arms. And what's also interesting with this is the drive towards more war by the European Union, by Keir Starmer's Britain also as well. And here in Ireland we see the political leaders all gagging for war and to send young men and women off to die on foreign fields. Now, really what's fascinating has been the media response in Ireland as well. They've been pushing for more war as well. They've been relentlessly getting pro-war people on their newspapers, on their platforms, speaking about why there's a huge threat from Russia. Now, if anybody knows really anything or has been following this war in Ukraine, has known the whole history in terms of the context of the push of NATO towards the western boundaries of Russia. And we've seen, for instance, the provocation through the attacks on the Donbass in eastern Ukraine over the last long number of years. And we've also seen the Minsk agreements, which were completely reneged upon, and the Istanbul agreements that Boris Johnson called off at the last minute as well, up on nearly 3 years ago at this stage. Now, also what's very interesting, as I said, has been the European Union response about driving towards more war. We've seen that from Donald Tusk, the European President currently. We've also seen it from the European Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen, to say there should be a surge in defence spending. We've also seen this from many more European leaders talking about more defence spending and increasing defence spending. So more war for peace, looking at this looming threat that they're claiming from Russia. They always have to find a threat, of course, to try and keep the population on edge. And also what's interesting is, as I said in my video a number of days ago with JD Vance's speech in Munich, was the drive towards the military-industrial complex. Now, this will benefit the US and NATO as well, because it will benefit from the US because so many of these arms and weapons will be bought from the United States and making profits for their industries in the US. And also try and build towards a military-industrial complex base across the European Union. So instead of supporting and investing in public services, we're going to be investing in more weapons of war and armaments and driving more people to their deaths. This is the intention of these out of control, really psychopaths at the top of society we see in Europe, and also we've seen here in Ireland. Because today in Ireland we've seen Simon Harris and Micheál Martin talking about giving over another €50 million towards Ukraine. Because currently there's a European peace facility, would you believe that has been supplying non-lethal aid, apparently, and humanitarian aid towards Ukraine that Ireland is a member of. And this has been stalled because of Hungary and their reluctance to sign up to this agreement. And what's important with this is that the Irish government decided unilaterally today, Martin Harris and his able lapdogs, led by Michael Lowry and Sean Kenny and Kevin Boxer-Moran, have handed over another €50 million to Ukraine in so-called non-lethal aid. And they're also talking about the so-called security guarantees. Security guarantees would mean boots on the ground in Ukraine post this conflict. This is just remarkable. So this would be really, rather than peacekeeping, peace enforcement. And we all know what that leads to. This is just lunacy. But of course, we've seen the drive towards more militarism in the European army. What Zelensky said at the weekend about the drive towards the European army to support Ukraine. This goes back to the complete and utter sham narrative that's always been portrayed about wars. We've seen it over 100 years ago in Ireland, where we saw John Redmond of the Irish Parliamentary Party give a speech in Woodenbridge, County Wicklow. And at that meeting in Woodenbridge, Redmond spoke about and split the Irish volunteers, and he spoke about fighting there so we don't have to fight here. So 100 years later, Irish men who died on the battlefields of France and who died fighting for so-called freedoms that he was trying to present on his drive towards home rule. But of course, the interesting thing was that split the Irish volunteers, as we know, and led to more people die in these imperial wars that Ireland should have no hand, act or part in. And much the same as what we said over 100 years ago, where James Connolly famously had the banner to say neither king nor Kaiser outside Liberty Hall in Dublin city centre. At the same time, we serve neither king, Kaiser or president of the European Union. So we should have no hand, act or part in any of these conflicts. And what's important to note is that Irish neutrality is being eroded day by day, and the drive towards more militarism continues in the European Union. And this is what the drive is throughout Europe, and the drive now as well towards from Ireland as well. Perhaps the US are looking for some form of Minsk agreement, again a Minsk 3 perhaps, and maybe pause the conflict, divert your attention towards China, and maybe come back at a future point for Russia. Who knows how it develops. But of course, if the US were really interested in peacekeeping, they would stop supplying weapons of war, and they would work towards denuclearization, which is what they've said they would do. But at the same time, let's see what the facts are on the ground. Let's see if the military bases are pulled back from Europe. Let's see if all the military bases, for instance, that's used as Shannon Airport, is stopped. We'll see how that develops. I'm sure that won't happen. But again, a lot of this is rhetoric, but we have to really look behind the rhetoric and look at the facts and think critically to what's going on in society, because we know whether you're Trump, whether you're Putin, they serve their oligarch classes much the same as we see here in Ireland and the European Union, who serve their rich business interests as well. Now, it is important we need to put the needs of ordinary working class people first, and wars never ever ever serve the interests of ordinary people. So the narrative that's going to be presented over the next period of time is to get into the defence forces and work on as part of a bigger European-wide project to erode Irish neutrality further and further and further, and drag us kicking and screaming because of threats to our cyber security, threats to our subsea cables, and invest in military hardware rather than invest in basic public services such as housing. We see a homeless disaster across Ireland. We see a health chaos. We see the immigration chaos in Ireland also as well. We see the crime chaos also as well in Ireland. But of course, these politicians said sovereignty was a backward-looking idea, Micheál Martin. But they're all interested in Ukraine sovereignty. It's not revealing and hypocritical in the extreme. So thanks for the support of my videos. Really appreciate them. And let's keep speaking the truth, and use your voice also to keep speaking out on what's going on in society. So thanks for the support, and please press subscribe to my YouTube channel. And apologies for the light tonight, just a little bit dark as I was doing the video. So thanks again for the support, and take care. Slán. Bye bye.